Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
It's an anniversary year. You might have noticed. So I thought, let's go back to the original crew. We're going to spend some time with the first Doctor, Susan, Ian and Barbara, because they are kind of the original crew. I guess the first Doctor and Susan are the original crew. And we are going to go to City at World's End. Which is by Christopher Bulis.
That has a fantastic cover, I think, too.
It does. It has a very lively cover. We are going to go to the City at World's End.
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London.
Happy 60th anniversary.
Well, we know the dates, don't we? We finally know the broadcast dates.
We haven't seen any of the new episodes yet, we should clarify.
No. Well, I think also by the time this drops, possibly maybe one of, maybe. But I have heard the broadcast dates. I haven't memorized them, but it does mean that I can actually start planning to do things in other other bits.
With the rest of your life.
Yes, yeah. Because I had leave booked on the 24th of November. I'm doing an event on the night of the 23rd of November that I could not change, no matter how hard I tried. And so I was like, right, well, I'm just going to get up and just watch. Then I realised, oh, okay, well, if anything is aired that day, it won't be a special. So, fine.
And it sounds like the first special, the Starbeast, is going to air the weekend of Chicago TARDIS. So I'm hoping that there'll be some sort of like big screening, sort of how Heaven Sent, I think that happened at Gallifrey, or Chicago TARDIS maybe.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. And a huge missed opportunity if they don't have Rachel Talalay do a commentary at some point.
Yes.
Later on in the weekend, since she's scheduled to be there as well.
Yeah. Maybe not when the episode is broadcast for the first time or available on Disney Plus for the being aired. But yeah. Do we know that it's on Disney Plus on the same day as it airs in the UK?
Oh, I would imagine it would be probably within the same hour.
Yeah. What one would hope. But
yeah, we haven't heard anything along those lines yet. So
we do know that for Shooty season, we have one of the Loki creatives co-writing an episode.
I had not heard that.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but she directed, I think, all of Loki season 1, and she's writing. However, the thing that I always remember about Loki is the visuals, which, obviously directing has a say in. So I kind of think, well, hopefully she'll be able to write a visually stunning episode, or at least leave room for it.
That's funny you should mention Loki, because I was reminded of the end of season 1 of that show with our book this month, City at World's End.
Oh, okay. I can't recall.
The whole meteor shower.
Oh, yeah,
and the planet being bombarded, sort of deal.
True.
Which we should probably mention tone-wise.
Yes.
Our book this month.
It's bleak.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a heavy book. A book about conflict. So if this is something that you're not in the mood for at the moment, it's a heavy book. Yeah. So we don't normally give tonal warnings or stuff, but if you are feeling you're quite depressed by events in the news and you're wanting a break, this might not be the episode for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it again. I have picked something that ends up being kind of tying in with the news accidentally.
It's whatever the not so good version of serendipitous is.
Yes.
An unhappy accident.
Yes, a very
unserendipitous.
A miserable accident. Yes. Right. If we dip into book news, I was reminded, because we've got books upcoming across the decades, I was reminded that I've met one of the authors. So Tasha Suri, who is writing the book about the 70s, I met at a convention last year, FantasyCon. And if she writes as good a book as she talks, then it will be very good.
Excellent. And I think we know the author of the 90s book as well, Dave Rudden.
Yes, we're aware of him.
Haven't met him in person yet.
No. Though I think at FantasyCon, that I went to, there was a bearded, red-headed guy who was hanging around. I was thinking, are you Dave Rudden? And then, oh, no, you're a tourist who just happens to be staying at the same hotel. Okay, fine.
I met a bearded redhead this week as well at Doctor Who Tavern. I got to meet Kieran Hyman from Australia.
Ah, cool.
Who's worked on various classic series colorizations over the years, including Day of Armageddon from the Daleks' Master Plan. So it was really cool to meet him.
Cool. I think, unless you have any further book news, then I think we are at the time where we talk about show and tell.
We are.
And it's your go, I think, first.
Yeah. So my almost show and tell was that I finally saw Brighton Rock with William Hartnell. So that was really cool. To see that movie, finally. But my show and tell this month is the Magic the Gathering sets that have come out. So I'm not a huge Magic fan, but my husband is going to different Magic drafts and conventions and such. So it really is a combination of our interests.
Okay, cool.
And I don't know if you've played the... game
No, never. I remember on a university trip to the cinema, one of my flatmates, because they had an ad for Magic the Gathering, and they said, "Chris, you'll know all about this." And I went, no, I don't. But thank you for assuming. And so speak to me about Magic the Gathering.
So there are 4 what are called commander decks, which are kind of all-inclusive, balanced decks. So if you buy a commander deck, you don't have to buy, say, a bunch of other decks and build your own.
Okay.
So they're kind of pre-built and have cool mechanics to work together. And we've also picked up a few of the booster packs, which primarily have alternate art, but there's some unique cards in there as well. And I'm still in the process of opening everything up and getting the cards sleeved, and haven't actually played the game quite yet. But it's really interesting how the 4 different decks are themed around unique play mechanics, and a lot of thought went into the different playing styles. Both the original Doctor Who cards and then some classic Magic cards are getting reprinted in this set with a Doctor Who twist. Okay. So for example, there's a classic Magic card called Wound Reflection, which allows you to mirror damage inflicted upon you with an enemy.
Okay.
And the art and the flavor text for the reprint show Missy and the Master dancing and stabbing each other in the back.
Oh.
And River Song's card allows you to draw from the bottom of your deck instead of the top of your deck. As she's kind of living life in reverse.
Yes.
And there's also a fun card called Spoilers that punishes those that try and look ahead in their decks. There's a timey-wimey deck that has extensive use of time counters. There's a Masters of Evil deck, which is all red and black themed.
Right.
The 13th Doctor deck really focuses on the Doctor and companions and their interpersonal relationships, and those pairs of cards really help each other during combat. And each deck is themed appropriately with the various magic colors. So, for example, the 13th Doctor and Yaz are green, blue, and red aligned. Blue because the 13th Doctor has a scientific background and curiosity and kind of more engineering. And green from her pursuit of adventure, whereas Yaz is red because of her impulse to jump into action and her brave and passionate nature. As it says, one deck is themed Paradox Power, which rewards you with playing cards from anywhere other than your hand. So a lot of artists familiar to Doctor Who, like Alice X. Zhang, who's done some graphic novel and comic book covers for Titan, has a number of new cards in this set, and as well as a lot of artists who are familiar to Magic fans. There are tons of characters. Even Duggan from City of Death gets a card. And there's a lot of plane chase mechanics, so not running after an airplane a la Faceless Ones or Time Flight, but traveling to different scenic vistas the TARDIS has visited before, with some gorgeous kind of oversized card art. And there's a couple of follow-up mini decks coming out next month, one themed around a Dalek squadron and one with the Weeping Angels. So if you have the funds and the time to invest in it, I would recommend it. It's a fun game, and
right. Yes, I was thinking, oh, this sounds very interesting and stuff. And then because I guess you need to buy quite a few packs or.
You could buy a commander deck and it'd be, self-sufficient, but you're talking probably $40 to $50 for a set of 100 cards. So it's not.
No, that's not entry level. Well, it is if you know people that are regularly playing it. In the unlikely event you know me and you do Magic the Gathering, or you live somewhere in South London, say hello.
There might be a few games going at Console Room over the course of the weekend. So dip your toe in there.
Yes,
maybe.
Yes, so I can give it a try. Cool.
Yeah, speaking of which, listeners, you can see Chris and I at Console Room just in a couple months in January. So
yes.
Do buy your ticket.
Yes.
So far we have Sylvester McCoy announced, and I know the convention is working on getting other guests as well.
Cool.
Which would be really exciting. So.
Yes, I am just hoping that there isn't a weather event.
Me too.
Because it's January.
If you're going to visit Minnesota, you may as well do it either when it's really nice out or, experience us at our coldest and see how it goes.
Yes, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Dress in layers. That's my advice.
Yes. We were exchanging messages during the week where I was like, what do I wear? Because this is going to be the coldest I've probably ever been. Folks, I'm not a skier. I used to get taken up mountains as a child. I've not had to purchase my own winter gear any more than you need for just surviving London.
So how about you, Chris, for Show and Tell?
Show and Tell, yes. I have read Once Upon a Time Lord by Dan Slott, because I read that, dear listener, in September, because I did a review of it for Horror Tree, which you can go to the Horror Tree website. I enjoyed it. I hope that Dan Slott has more. In fact, we know that Dan Slott has more stuff. So I think that his subsequent stuff is also going to be 10th Doctor-y. Yeah, you clearly see the depth of his Doctor Who knowledge. Because I'm not going to spoil something, but there are races that are not depicted on the cover that have central parts in the story. We see characters very much from the modern series, also as well stuff from the classics. I'd forgotten that he lived in the UK for a while as a kid. Yeah, and so he watched, I think he saw live from late Tom Baker through to, I think it might be Vengeance on Varos. So certainly there's...
all of the Fifth Doctor's run. And
yes,
very cool.
So, and the artwork is brilliant and by Christopher Jones, I believe, and very much capturing the essence of the Doctor. It's done in a Arabian Nights kind of style with Martha telling stories to keep herself alive. So it's a little bit episodic by its very nature. So I think one thing I would have quite liked would have been like one big story, maybe. But also as well, I imagine like he probably, because Dan Slott's a busy writer. So I wonder whether there's something that he could just like chip away at. Like Titan's deadlines, I think, for like a series of one-off specials are probably a bit more flexible than, say, Marvel.
Yeah, and I know they've also delayed the publication date a few times. Like all the volumes are printed and ready to ship, but they're trying to time it so it, for maximum impact when it, because David Tennant is on the cover, to coincide with his 14th Doctor return, even though this is focused on the 10th Doctor.
Yeah.
Dan Slott and Chris Jones were interviewed by the Panel to Panel podcast recently, and they kind of go into some more details about it too. And we'll link to your Horror Tree review in our show notes.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to read it.
Yes.
It's been a long time coming. So.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy Dan Slott's stuff, so it's worth the wait. If you really dislike Dan Slott, then it probably isn't for you. Yeah, it gets quite meta, but it's Dan Slott. Of course it'll get meta given a chance.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that brings us to our book for this month, which is City at World's End.
Yeah.
Written by Christopher Bulis.
Yes.
And this is one of 12 Doctor Who novels he's written, if you count the Benny novel Tempest.
Yeah.
And we've read The Eye of the Giant by him, and I think I've also read The Sorcerer's Apprentice and Shadowmind. Anything you'd mention about the author?
Yeah, fun fact that I learnt from the Doctor Who Novel Experiences event in Derby is that none of the other authors that were on the panel had ever met him.
Oh.
Including, the implication is, Peter Darvill Evans.
Huh.
So... which is interesting.
So does he exist? Does he have a pen name for someone?
Yes. Like, is he an AI who fell through time? Yeah, I don't know whether he's a pseudonym or something. It was quite curious. I thought, really? None of you ever met him? I like to think that maybe he was there in the audience.
Silently watching.
Yes. So, but because like if you look on his Wikipedia entry, all he has is his Doctor Who stuff. Like there is nothing else that I can find about him. At which point, I'm sure listeners will probably write in and say, he wrote all of this and everything. Because like I mean, he's a big Star Trek fan. Because there are Star Trek references in quite a bit of his work, and this book feels very Star Trek-y.
Yeah.
Maybe it's John Peel under another pseudonym.
I'm running his name through like my head in terms of like an anagram to see if like,
Yes.
it smells like the Master or something.
There were all the rumours about Kinder that I can't remember the name of the author. It was Christopher something or other, wasn't it? Who wrote Kinder and Snake Dance. And there are persistent rumours that was Kate Bush.
Really?
Yes, though these rumours are often vigorously debunked.
Oh, yeah. Christopher Bailey?
Bailey, that was it, yes. But I do like the idea that Kate Bush wrote Kinder. Oh. Yes. So maybe this is Kate Bush.
Doing Doctor Who.
Yes.
There's no hills that they're running up. But
No.
was the documentary on one of the Blu-rays for the author of...
The Sensorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter something or other. Yeah, I can't remember his name. The Australian guy. Or the other Australian author of the first season. So not the one who's in the news, or it's been in the news in October. It's Steph Coburn, his dad.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, should we just move on to safer ground and start talking about City at World's End?
Yeah, so City at World Ends is the 25th of 76 Past Doctor Adventures. It was published in September of 1999. Not to be confused with a Golden Age science fiction novel of the same name by Edmund Hamilton, which was published in 1951.
Yeah, or City at the Edge of Forever.
Yep, Harlan Ellison.
Yes.
It features a rather nice cover, especially for Black Sheep, of a futuristic city with a gleaming old-school style sci-fi rocket ship in the foreground. With a futuristic city being bombarded by meteors from above. And it's set in between seasons 1 and 2, after the Reign of Terror, but before the Past Doctor adventure, The Witch Hunters. And I was thinking, well, why was it set before then? And then I realized the scene with Susan getting dunked like a witch.
Yeah.
Where she didn't say, oh, this happened a few weeks ago in our Steve Lyons adventure. So it has to be placed before that because it's a novel experience for her.
You could say it almost leads into Planet of Giants.
Yes, there's a couple of tie-ins there, which we will get to later on. But yes, it very much does lead into that story as well. And this book features a prologue, 35 titled chapters, and an epilogue.
Yes.
And the chapter titles feel like they could function as individual Hartnell-era episode titles, like The Ship or Breakout or The Deception.
Yeah, they're very Target-like, aren't they, as well?
Yeah. And the book ends with an ad for the second Big Finish Doctor Who audio, Phantasmagoria, by someone called Mark Gatiss. Back when they were doing a lot of...
Yeah, cross-promotion, or just one-way promotion.
Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's. So, the TARDIS materializes on top of a skyscraper in a futuristic city. And the Doctor gets intrigued by a giant construction they can see in the distance, resembling a rocket ship. But it's in the middle of the city, so how could it launch without blowing up the city around it? And the building they're on, this skyscraper, turns out to be completely hollow. And they then go down to the lower levels, and they're already passing cars, but they find that the drivers in the cars aren't reacting to their presence at all. And before they can find out anything more, a meteorite shower strikes the city, bringing down part of this kind of enclosed highway. And Barbara and Susan rush back to the TARDIS, while Ian and the Doctor pause to help a trapped driver, only to discover that the driver of this car is a dummy. So, yeah, what's going on? And then suddenly the skyscraper is struck by a meteorite and collapses, seemingly with Barbara and Susan inside, which is a way to split up your TARDIS crew. And rescue services arrive and dig out the badly injured Susan. And the desperate Doctor and Ian are sent off to internment camps, where their claims about their arrival is dismissed as madness. And in the camp, they learn that they're on the planet, is it Saraf?
Yep.
Yep,
Sarah.
Saraf. And the orbit of its moon is decaying following a collision with an asteroid. And that although a ship has been built to evacuate the population of the city, Arkhaven, to the neighbouring world, Miraf, before the world is destroyed, there is not enough room for everyone on board. And non-conforming non-citizens, known as NC2s, have thus been confined to camps. And when the ship launches, they're going to be abandoned to their fate.
So not enough lifeboats for everyone.
Yes. So it's a setup, isn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of a cool opening, and when the TARDIS materialized on the rooftop, it was kind of foggy, so they're wandering like close to the edge and not realizing that they could fall. And I learned a new word from Ian. He said the fog and the surroundings didn't look very prepossessing.
Oh!
Which I've never heard that word used before.
Oh, interesting. Obviously, it's a very British English word. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I often say non-prepossessing. Or I sometimes say non-prepossessing. But anyway, cool.
So then the Doctor and Ian learn that there was a man named Gelvert who is trying to escape the internment camp, and he tries to rob them of their belongings, including the Doctor's ring. He doesn't manage to get the ring, but the Doctor's TARDIS key does get stolen.
Yeah.
And the Doctor reports Gelvert's intentions to the authorities because they need to get the key back, assuming that the TARDIS can be dug out of the rubble of the building that collapsed. And Susan and Barbara are still missing at this point, so the Doctor and Ian, fear the worst. And the Doctor reports this robbery, but the camp security is remarkably lax, and this isn't their first escape from the camp. The camp has been losing prisoners for some time, and the Doctor's eavesdropping on a conversation between the warden named Breen and a security trooper named Ben Lant, and he realizes that an extraordinary number of escapees have never been recaptured. Like 90% of those who have escaped don't get captured. And the Doctor deduces from the available evidence how the escape was engineered, including cutting like a hole in this like gap in security. And Lant, impressed by the Doctor's intelligence, agrees to keep an eye out for Susan with the local hospitals, as well as on the repair of the collapsed tower to see if there's any word from Barbara. And Lant then goes off and visits the city hospital, where he meets the chief medical officer, Naira Chandri. And every time I saw Naira's name, my mind just filled in Nissa. And I had to stop myself from doing that.
Yes.
They had recovered Susan, but she was apparently dying, so she went into an emergency stasis pod, and they were unaware that Susan was entering a healing coma. Which the Doctor has been known to do at various points.
Yeah, when Hartnell's needing a holiday,
Yeah. Or Pertwee.
Yes.
And the medical computers indicate that Susan's not of this planet. And the folks on this planet, by the way, they look very human, so they're like human colonists. It's not like some other species. And Lant, intrigued, goes to the ruins of the tower that collapsed to investigate further, where he sees the TARDIS had just been unearthed from the rubble. And it proves impossible to break in. They try using laser cutting tools, and they can't scratch the surface. And so this guard, he's kind of a captain of the guard, takes his story directly to the mayor, who's known as Mayor Drad.
Meanwhile, Gelvert, the guy that has seemingly robbed the Doctor, Gelvert and his fellow escapees hide in an empty warehouse, intending to smuggle themselves aboard a ship with its cargo. And they've been dealing with some basically people smugglers, and it turns out that the people they've been dealing with are bored youth from Arkhaven's elite. The youth are doing this just to give themselves some quarry to hunt.
And we should mention the moon that's about to crash into the planet. They're estimating is about 30 days away, so you have this kind of clock ticking in the background.
Yes.
And the society is very worried about maintaining order and stability, and they don't want things to break down into chaos. So these youth, kind of the upper class, are very much bored, I think.
Yes.
And are kind of hunting for sport.
Yeah, so Gelvert and two other escapees managed to escape the youth, who managed to hunt down and capture the other fugitives and turn them over to the City Watch, but only after they've had their fun. So Gelvert and his companions try to reach the warehouses, but they come to realise that like Arkhaven as a city is almost entirely deserted, and that the people on the streets are mostly animatronic dummies, and many of the buildings are plasterboard recreations. And that they find this somewhat frightening and disturbing. So they hide out in an empty building for the night, but something like a giant snake starts pursuing them and captures Gelvert's fellow escapees. And fleeing in terror, Gelvert manages to lose the coat in which he was keeping the key that he nicked from the Doctor. And then Gelvert falls to his death from the building, which is a bit of a shame because I was very much enjoying Gelvert. He has a somewhat of a glitz air about him. Yeah, that's Gelvert gone for the narrative. Yeah, he's a very Robert Holmesian character as Gelvert.
He is, yeah. And with Susan held in almost as like a Bacta tank from Star Wars, the scans reveal that she has two hearts, which is interesting because that contradicts a bit of, was it in The Man in the Velvet Mask? It said that Time Lords only have one heart until they regenerate for the first time.
Yeah, doesn't necessarily contradict it.
Yeah, she could have regenerated.
Yeah, this could be Susan's 12th regeneration. I think she might be accident prone. She does tend to fall over and twist her ankle, doesn't she?
Yeah, that could be. I mean, it's also possible that I think in Lungbarrow it was revealed that she comes from Gallifrey's distant past. So potentially all Time Lords could have had two hearts back in the day, and that could have been genetically edited out over the centuries. But it is interesting that Susan does kind of confirm in the narrative where she's trying to decide, like, should I regenerate or should I go into a healing trance? And she's like, I'll try the healing trance first and see how that works.
Yeah, because she's quite close to regeneration, which I found surprising and interesting.
So back with the Doctor, the Doctor and Ian are summoned for an audience with the mayor, and the Doctor, after explaining how they came to be here, which is kind of borne out by the facts because it's a very unbelievable story, I think, for a lot of these. Because they do have some futuristic sort of technology. You can also tell that they've lost a lot of their history, and there's a faction led by a bishop. They've developed like a whole mythology around how they arrived at this planet, which is at odds with what actually happened in the historical record. Yeah. So you have that tension between, I think, science and superstition throughout, which is
interesting. Yeah.
So the Doctor explains how they came to be there, and he agrees to offer advice on the construction of the ship to kind of increase their efficiency and fuel and stuff. But first he requires an explanation for why the city was deserted, and the mayor explains that when the construction of the ship began, Arkhaven was attacked by the Teclarians, who are from lands in the south, I think they're also humans, but they've practiced selective breeding for 1,000 years and have beliefs that they're genetically superior to the other colonists.
Are they humans? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, narrative's a little unclear.
Yeah. I must say, I thought that they were the original inhabitants of that land, of that world. But I don't know. But that might be just my reading into that.
Yeah, I always assumed that they were humans because they were making comments about like how the others weren't as superior.
Yeah.
And in my mind, if they're physically almost identical,
it
would be a very Star Trek parallel evolution sort of deal if they weren't. But yeah, the narrative kind of is silent on that point.
Yes, like that episode from the original series where you've got people whose half their face is white and half their face is black. And there's another race that has it the same but in reverse.
Let that be your last battlefield with Frank Gorshin, the Riddler.
Yes, yeah. I thought it had the Riddler. I remember reading that people regard that in great esteem, and I thought, wasn't one of my favourites, but hey ho, I like Time Lash. Right. Okay.
So the use of the automated traffic in the buildings was originally intended to deceive the Teclarians into believing that their attacks were less successful than they truly were. And by the time that they were defeated, it turns out 90% of Arkhaven's population had been wiped out. So there's only about 80,000 people within the city that are trying to get on board this kind of Ark ship in the middle of Arkhaven. And the Teclarian battleship was left smoldering on the beach months ago. Well, all of their resources were diverted to the continuing construction of the ship, as well as trying to knock out the meteors that are bombarding the planet to kind of create like a protective dome over the city, with missile strikes and such. The Doctor appears satisfied with these explanations, and he agrees to help advise on the final stages of construction, but he remains silent about his own suspicions, kind of raised by some inconsistencies he's noticed in the mayor's story.
Yeah, that he doesn't share with the reader. Yeah, so you go, what's going on? What's going on? Let's check in with Barbara. So Barbara has, she's come round and she's realised that the lift cage of like the skyscraper that the TARDIS had landed on has protected her from the falling rubble. And she manages to escape before the settling rubble finally crushes the cage. And she falls through a crack in the floor into the drainage tunnels beneath the city. But because regular maintenance isn't needed because the city's been evacuated and or 90% of the population have been killed, the people of Arkhaven have sealed the tunnels and she's not able to find a way out. And she follows some bootmarks that she's seeing in like the dust and drainagey stuff to what appears to be a maintenance hatch. But there she gets captured by Prince Keldo of the Teclarian Empire. And in their rush to get back to work on a ship, the people of Arkhaven hadn't actually decided or determined whether all of the Teclarians had been killed. And over the past year, the few survivors have burrowed a tunnel from the remains of their ship out, and that tunnel is going underneath the city. And so they now intend to capture the Arkhaven rocket ship by using brainwashed Arkhavians as their unwitting allies. And like they assume Barbara to be an Arkhavian, and so they test their conditioning units on her. And a signal device is implanted in her watch, and she's released back into the drainage system with no memory of what has happened to her. So, yeah, machinations and much sinisterness. Also, just worth saying that in the book, often like the rocket ship is referred to as the ship with a capital S.
Yes.
Which is a tiny bit confusing because the TARDIS crew of that time would often refer to the TARDIS as the ship.
With a capital S.
Yes, with a capital S, yeah. Takes a bit of getting used to, yes.
Yeah. I don't think I ever got used to that.
No, so, dear listener, you're being spared that.
And that's one way to split up the TARDIS crew, I suppose. Drop a building on them.
Yes.
And
yeah, it works.
Barbara survives and clearly attended the Kate Stewart and Tegan Jovanka How to Survive a Building Dropped on You class. Yes. And I didn't realize that Susan also had a TARDIS key. I think the narrative at this point mentions that she has one, but may have also lost it. And
yeah.
I don't know that was ever mentioned in the series. That I always thought they only had the one key. I mean, up until, like the Capaldi era where he has 7 copies of it. But
yeah,
I guess it makes sense that both the Doctor and Susan would have a key.
Yeah, it would make sense. But also, I mean, there are some times where like the TARDIS just opens because like the Doctor's nearby, and so obviously he's not configured the TARDIS to do that.
He doesn't realize it opens by snapping his fingers quite yet.
Not yet, no.
So then the mayor releases news of the aliens' arrival to the city and convinces the Doctor and Ian to attend a public social event to help boost morale, which is difficult for them because they're still very much concerned about Barbara and Susan. And while dining together, the mayor is interrupted by the son of Lord Vendham, who's head of the elite class, as well as by an emissary from Bishop Fostel from the local religious order. And they're both angry that the arrival of the aliens was not reported to them immediately. It had been, they just hadn't read their emails. The Doctor and Ian learned that the people of Arkhaven are divided by class, including the non-conforming citizens that we saw earlier.
Yeah.
And the construction of the ship has led to greater power and appreciation for the functionary class, while the elite and church classes see their traditional prestige diminishing in this kind of new order. And much tension has developed as a result, and even Professor Jerrison, who's the designer of the rocket ship, can't help but gloat that the other classes have been forced to turn to him for survival after denying him funds for so many years to construct the ship. And the Doctor requests and is given a tour of the rocket, which confirms his earlier suspicions. Although he shares his suspicions with Ian, he doesn't with the reader. So we're still kind of clueless as to what he's referencing. But Susan, meanwhile, is continuing to recover in the hospital, although she experiences a strange dream about being trapped in a wet and unpleasant place, similar to a recycling plant that has a conveyor belt, which she's moving towards. So you've got that happening as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on. So we hang back with Lant, and Lant, who also the book sometimes refers to as Ben, slightly confusingly.
The captain of the guard.
Yes. But if I'm reading a First Doctor book and there are references to Ben,
right,
I'm picturing Michael Craze. But anyway, so the captain of the guard, who we shall call Lant, just to ease your confusion, reader. But bear in mind, we're getting confused by the ship. I'm getting confused by references to Ben. There are extra layers of confusion that Christopher Bulis is just choosing to put in for his own reason. So Lant, the captain of the guard, he's been puzzled by something the son of Lord Vendham, Plaxander Vendham, has said whilst confronting the mayor. And so Lant goes to his home, to Plaxander's home, to confront him about the hunt. Then he puts together Plaxander's claims with kind of some of the facts about last night's escape. And he realises that at least 8 of the escapees are unaccounted for. But when Lant reports it to his superior, Commander Pardek, he's told to drop the investigation. And Lord Vendham, meanwhile, is chastising his son, Plaxander, for his general activities. And so Plaxander, who's very much angry about this, decides to go off with his friends into the city that night to set up a trap for Lant. However, Plaxander is attacked by the weird snake thing that had taken Gelvert's companions. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And then we spend a bit of time with Bishop Fostel. And Fostel, I kept on reading that as Foxtel, which is there's an Australian Murdoch. I don't know if Murdoch still owns it, but anyway, yes. So Bishop Fostel has been angered by Gerard the Mayor's dismissive attitude towards his claim on the aliens, and realises that he must take some decisive action to restore the church's traditional power. And so he kidnaps Susan so he can question her about her religious beliefs. So this is why I kept on reading Foxtel. And dissatisfied by her responses, the bishop and his overzealous acolyte Zekla decide to put her to trial by water.
Yeah, the aforementioned witch hunt sort of deal.
Yes, yeah. The Doctor and Ian, with the help of Lant, the trooper, and also as well an artificial intelligence called Monitor. They managed to use various bits of surveillance and reasoning to trace Susan to an abandoned health club that's been owned by kind of like a true believer in the church. And Lant leads a team to the club, this health club, to rescue Susan. But they're somewhat surprised because Fostel is there in person. And also, as well, Fostel's guards are armed. And there's an amazing scene of this kind of shootout in this swimming pool. And in the ensuing gunfight, Fostel is killed, but he's killed in the dark. So, his believers and acolytes don't realise for quite some time. And Susan is injured, and she's returned to the hospital. And that is where we get this month's reading from Tiffany Angus. And Tiffany has got quite a few books and stuff about kind of speculative fiction writing and how to get your work in front of agents and whatnot. We'll probably put a link to her work when the episode is out there. But if you go along to tiffanyangus.com. But anyway, right, shall we have a listen?
Yeah, let's have a listen.
Let's.
The Jeep drew up outside the city hospital as the sky began to turn gray with pre-dawn light. A trolley and 2 attendants were already waiting for them, alerted by a radio call from Naira. Susan was transferred to the trolley and taken through the accident unit entrance. Naira had given her a localized pain-killing injection during the journey, and she had recovered sufficiently to relate her experiences remarkably calmly as they went inside. Ian smiled in relief as well as wonderment at her constitution. It was like a medieval trial by water, she explained, clutching her grandfather's hand as she was wheeled along. According to the bishop, if I sank and drowned, his supreme maker had granted me the absolution of a natural death. If I somehow managed to float, I was obviously under the influence of an evil force. I would have to be disposed of in some other way. When I went under, I just tried to hold my breath as long as I could, and hope. She looked at Ian. Thank you. Yes, Chesterton, the doctor said gruffly. Thank you once again. Well, if everything's under control here, I'll just report in to the mayor, Lant said, taking out his pocket phone and stepping back outside. Naira Chardry, who had been conferring in low tones with one of the attendants, returned to them. I'm afraid we've had a minor system breakdown. There are no treatment tanks available right now. It's nothing to worry about, but Susan will have to wait on the support trolley until one is ready. Ian gestured at the empty room with its array of gleaming equipment. What's all this for, then? Can't you use it? You said her wound wasn't that serious. Naira looked slightly uncomfortable. I could in an emergency, but we usually leave surgery to the auto systems nowadays. I doubt if you'll be able to maintain this level of automation on Marath, the doctor said. You must learn to reduce your dependency on machines at some point. Ian suspected the doctor was testing Naira. The clinician looked at them uncertainly for a moment, then seemed to come to a decision. You're quite right. I'm perfectly capable of this sort of work. If that's all right by you? She asked Susan. Susan smiled reassuringly. I'm sure you'll do fine. Naira called over an attendant to assist her. In a minute, Susan was lying on her side on a treatment table, covered by a silvery blanket with a window over the wound. A sterile field enveloped the operating area, so there was no need for masks or gowns. The doctor and Ian were able to watch from close by. Naira pulled down a probe mounted on an extensible arm and held it over the injury. An image appeared on a screen at the head of the table. The scan shows no deep internal damage, she said to Susan. The coagulating agent in the temporary dressing has limited the blood loss, so you won't need a transfusion. Luckily, the bullet passed right through. You've got a couple of broken ribs and some lacerated muscles. Nothing I can't fix. In an hour, you'll be as good as new. She sounded more confident now, Ian thought, even pleased with herself. Using another aerosol applicator, she sprayed a release agent over the temporary dressing, and it fell away easily, revealing the blood-caked wound underneath. Naira took up a swab and a suction device and began to remove the clotted matter. I'll just clean this up first, then I can rebuild those ribs and... She faltered and Ian saw her face go pale. She took a step back from the table, dropping the suction tool, which swung loosely on its hose, hissing loudly. Oh, good grief, she said faintly. Is there a problem? The doctor demanded, striding quickly to Naira's side. Susan was trying to twist about to look up at them. What's wrong? She asked, her voice catching. Ian saw credulity and then utter dismay flicker across the doctor's face. Ian moved forward, clasped Susan's hand in reassurance, then nerved himself to look closely at the gaping wound in her side. A flap of skin had been torn open by the passage of the bullet, exposing her ribs. But where there should have been white bone, there was only buckled silvery metal and plastic.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for reading that.
Yes, thank you so much. And the reason why I was plugging Tiffany's stuff before the reading is because there's quite a twist there, isn't there?
To sort of quote Donna, Susan's a robot.
Yes. I had a David Tennant, what? kind of reaction. Yeah, so Susan's a robot. But like the android Susan still has been believing herself to be the real Susan and doesn't know when the switch was made. So, yeah. So did you see this one coming?
Well, with the kind of the conveyor belt dream,
Yeah.
like it was, the way it was written, it was so vivid and kind of accurate. It did make me think like, well, hang on, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then my mind, it didn't go quite down the robot route, but I was wondering like, well, Susan's in this kind of tank, so I'm wondering if she's like a clone or maybe a ganger or something.
Okay.
Along those lines.
Yeah.
But having two Susans in the narrative does make me again wish for I don't know why someone hasn't done this before, but why not have a convention called the Four Susans? And you could have it with Carol Ann Ford, Roberta Tovey, Jane Asher, and Claudia Grant.
Yeah.
And so it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Someone's got to have the Four Susan convention.
Yeah. You could have it in Philadelphia, right outside the Four Seasons landscape. It'd be brilliant. Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite the twist.
Yes.
It felt very like almost like 60s or 70s. Like I was thinking like the Bionic Woman or some of those sort of...
Well, it's the android invasion.
Oh yeah, with Sarah's face kind of coming off. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been a brilliant cliffhanger, wouldn't it? Yeah. So also, how would they have done that on 60s television? It might not have looked as good, but I don't know. Anyway.
So the ruins of the building that had collapsed kind of in the opening are finally cleared away. and there's no sign of Barbara, and the lift cage is sort of intact, and Ian notices like a storm drain entrance that wasn't too far from where the cage was found. They send like a little probe down and find some writing that Barbara scrawled on the wall to mark, which way she was headed. So that's a big relief for Ian to know that she's alive. So he heads down there to look for her. And just as he finds her in the distance, the crumbling tunnels collapse and they're separated once again. One of the dams breaks that has a lot of debris in it. And Barbara finds her way swept out of the tunnels and this part was a little serendipitous, shall we say, where out of all, the places for Barbara to emerge, she emerges just on the same block that Susan happens to be. And this isn't the android Susan, but this is the Susan that was on the conveyor belt who escaped certain death getting out of that recycling plant where she had found herself when she had awoken from her healing coma. And Susan thinks that she was declared dead and her body was disposed of. But before she and Barbara can set off in search of the others, they too are attacked by that snake-like creeper sort of monster. Although Ian and Captain Lant catch a glimpse of it in the shadows when they're searching for Barbara, and the creeper, snake-like creature, impossibly seems to vanish into thin air as they pursue it and track it down to like a dead end of a tunnel.
Yeah.
And the creeper is revealed to be a crowd control security vehicle that has like a vacuum nozzle attachment that resembles a snake.
As you do.
So it's just scooping people up.
Yes.
In this like people catcher van, I
guess. Yeah, it's very season 24 of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, like the cleaner robots in Paradise Towers sort of deal. And so this creeper van has transported Barbara, Susan, and the younger Vendom, Plaxander, to a construction area some distance away from the city. They're put to work in this kind of work camp, cleaning away meteorite damage, and the guards refuse to communicate with the prisoners on any human level, which, in my mind, the guards seemed brainwashed, similar to how Barbara was.
Yeah. Yeah, because and basically they're just there as labour, aren't they? So, shall we check them at a church? Let's see what they're up to. So, Zeka, who was Fostel's acolyte, and declares himself the new bishop because Fostel got killed when android Susan got rescued, and he orders all of his true believers to seek out Captain Lant. And also these aliens to turn them over to church authorities so they can be punished for the murder of Bishop Fostel. And the mayor realises that Zekla's announcement, which he's kind of like done over like big screens, hasn't he, it could tear the city apart. But at that moment, Monitor, the artificial intelligence that we referenced a bit earlier, reports that the moon has succumbed to tidal stress and has cracked in two, and the smaller fragment of the moon will collide with the planet within 8 hours. So in other words, today is 0 day. So they don't have the 60 days, they have to do anything they're doing for evacuation now. So they begin Operation Exodus immediately. And as the Arkhaven population evacuates the ship, Zekla and his acolytes stand guard outside because they're wanting to be there when Captain Lant and the aliens come past. But the Doctor, though, doesn't want to evacuate without Susan. Also, possibly Barbara, but but yeah.
Her fate is not as well. No, at this point, Ian knows that she's alive, at least.
Yeah, but he's still, well, to be accurate, Ian knows that she was alive.
Yeah, and she could have drowned in the tunnels at this point.
Yeah, so the Doctor is desperate to find Susan, and he's accompanied on his search by Ian, Lant, Shardry. Have we introduced Shardry? I can't remember.
Yeah, she's the medical officer at the hospital.
Yes, she's the one that we keep on thinking is Nissa. Nira Shardry, yeah. And also as well, Android Susan. And as news of the evacuation reaches the internment camp, like the panicked NC2s, these kind of like non-citizens, turn on their guards and escape, heading for the rocket ship. Lord Vendom, who's been searching the city for his missing son, is nearly beaten to death by a whole host of NC2s that he stumbles across. And also, word of this exodus reaches the worker camp where Barbara is. And so Barbara as we know, she's been conditioned by the Taclarians, and so she signals them via her wristwatch implant. And as the workers are herded into their sleeping quarters by the guards, Susan sabotages the doors so she can escape. And the rest, once the guards have departed.
Yeah, she like jams the door opener so it doesn't close fully.
Yeah. Just a thing about the wristwatch implant. How is that working? Because I'm assuming Barbara's wristwatch is like a standard 1960s one. How is this camouflaged?
It must have its own power source, like a Apple AirTag or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but also like, how is Susan not kind of going, oh, there's a weird looking thing on your wristwatch? It's like. Yeah, these are things that the narrative decides just to leave to you, the reader, to try to figure your way around.
So the Taclarians, acting on Barbara's signal, emerge from hiding and attack the rocket ship. And most of the passengers have already entered, so about close to 80,000 people, and they've been sedated for their long journey, kind of like cryosleep. And the Arcavians had believed that the Taclarians have all been dead, so they easily conquer the ship, killing Zeckler and the other guards outside. And upon reaching the bridge, they find it deserted. And from his secret hiding place, not on the rocket ship, the mayor detonates the ship, killing everyone on board. So 80,000 plus men, women, and children. Yeah, it gets heavy.
Yeah.
Although the narrative doesn't spend much time on this.
No, this book has quite the body count, doesn't it? Yeah.
And the Doctor and his companions witness the explosion, but in the stunned silence which follows, the Doctor announces they still have one slim chance of survival. He has Lant lead them to the area where the creeper vehicle had vanished, and there they discover the secret entrance to a tunnel leading away from the ship's launch pad. And accompanied by the dazed Lord Vendham and some of the surviving NC2s from the internment camp, the Doctor and his friends follow the tunnel to its destination, which is the worker camp where Susan, Barbara, and Plaxander had led their fellow workers to safety through the sabotage doors, after there was an attempt made to gas all of the workers as well and kill them. And using the creeper vehicle, the Doctor and his companions burst through the sealed doors on the other side of the worker camp, where they find the mayor, Jarrison, who is the architect of the rocket ship, and a group of puzzled evacuees who are about to board a second lander, smaller and more compact than the rocket ship. And unlike the ship, this one is actually capable of flight.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of odd that when the two groups merge up back together again, there's no reaction from Susan really around seeing her android duplicate. Like the whole introduction to android Susan for Susan and Barbara happen off screen.
Yes.
So to speak.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I was like, oh, well, that's a missed opportunity for a paragraph, maybe.
Yeah, but also there is so much going on, isn't there? If we were going to be starting to look into some of the emotional impact of that, then we ought to be looking at some of the emotional impact of, say, 80,000 people killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Doctor, we learn, had guessed the truth about the rocket when Drard had claimed, the mayor, that construction of the rocket had begun before the war with the Taclarians. Because if the Taclarians had wiped out 90% of the population, why was there supposedly so little room left on the ship? And Professor Jarrison, the designer, admits that, as the Doctor had realised when he toured the ship, that the rocket was incapable of flight. But because his initial research had been poorly funded until the crisis had struck, the construction of the ship had begun before he realised the truth. Yeah, so there's a slight kind of like climate crisis metaphor here as well, isn't there? So yeah, they'd been building a ship and they didn't have the money to make it actually properly work. And the mayor and the rest of the functionary class engaged in this big deception and started constructing a second, smaller lander capable of transporting only a selected members of the functionary class to safety while continuing work on the ship in order to make the rest of the city's population feel safe, even though they didn't know what was going on. And because they weren't able to install meteorite defences in the construction zone, because Like, otherwise people would be going, oh, hang on, why have you got defences here? What's happening here? Oh, you're building another ship. So labour was diverted from the NC2 kind of internment camp to clear away the damage. And the Creeper was being sent out to capture any escapees who'd managed to evade the City Watch. Yeah, and also, the mayor, we're learning at this point, the mayor's a bit of a chilly, kind of cold kind of guy. Yeah, he tells us that like the rest of Susie's population had been sedated to avoid panic and sort of killed on the ship. And the mayor says that this is a merciful release because there was no way to evacuate them all. Yeah.
And it's the same sort of deception they've been using with all the buildings as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of on a different scale.
Yeah. I guess once you start telling one lie, you can just gives you the freedom to carry on with others, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the mayor insists that nothing has changed, and he urges his people to begin boarding the smaller ship. But then suddenly several of the evacuees, including Captain Lant, are revealed to be androids, similar to how Susan was, under the control of Monitor, the artificial intelligence from earlier. And having concluded that the new civilization on Mirath would not be able to support the technology necessary for its continued survival, Monitor had begun laying these plans within plans some time ago, and anyone placed in emergency stasis in the hospital is technically dead, so Monitor was able to dispose of them without contravening its programming and Asimov's, rules of robots, and to do no harm. And then it replaces them with android duplicates who were, until now, unaware of their true nature. So that was surprising. And following the destruction of the rocket ship, the population of Arkhaven has dropped below the minimum legal definition of a city, and as such, the Monitor is also no longer bound to obey the mayor. So a lot of exceptions to rules, allowing the AI to grow in the way it did.
Yes, it's funny, lots of legal kind of loopholes, isn't it?
Yeah. So the androids begin loading supplies aboard the lander, with which Monitor hopes to create a fully automated society. And the TARDIS is also being loaded because the Monitor intends to study it later, because it's, alien technology it doesn't understand yet. And when the lander's human crew attempt to intervene, the androids kill them all, as well as Professor Jerrison, the architect of the Ark. And then Monitor's plans, however, fail to take into account Susan's survival. And because both her and her android share similar mental patterns, and of course this kind of ties into Susan sort of being telepathic, which was hinted at in like the Sensorites and some other stories. Yeah. A telepathic link had formed between both Susan and her android, and as such, the android Susan is able to resist the Monitor's orders. And her resistance causes interference in the Monitor's control over the other androids, and Captain Lant is able to regain enough of his humanity to destroy Monitor's control terminal.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, too, that Monitor had the same plan as the Tarkalians with a handful of androids as opposed to a handful of kind of the hypnotized or the brainwashed individuals.
Yeah. So in a final act of spite, Monitor wipes the android's memories of all of the androids and fuses the controls of the rocket ship. And also at this point, the mayor dies of a heart attack when he realizes all his plans have come to nothing. But just as all appears lost, the android Susan, having survived due to a mental link with, actual Susan, offers to link herself directly to the lander's controls and pilot the survivors to safety. Although she's fully aware that the civilization on Mirath will probably be unable to maintain her existence. And because Barbara has got Susan's TARDIS key,
which is convenient.
Yes.
Susan happened to she pushed Susan to safety, but also managed to snatch her TARDIS key.
Yes.
In the same moment.
Yes. So Barbara has some pickpocketing skills we didn't know about. I guess she grew up in the war, But anyway, so the Doctor and the TARDIS crew can remain behind to make sure that launch goes according to plan. And there had been a bit of a concern that the launcher wouldn't be able to have enough room for the survivors. So the Doctor removed an extra dimensional life pod from the TARDIS so that the rocket launcher thing has got extra volume and no additional mass, thus ensuring that everyone can safely evacuate. That's a very useful thing, isn't it? That we never see again.
The Doctor describes it as taking a piece of folded space from the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And he sort of describes it as a lifeboat.
It's a bit like the Zero Room, isn't it? In Castrovalva.
Yeah, or, I mean, isn't the Jade Pagoda, isn't that supposed to be a life pod as well?
Yeah, I guess.
Kind of the same. Because we see that in a couple of times, but nothing quite like this.
No. So Plaxander, if you remember him, the son of the Lord, he's a bit of a changed man after his experience in the worker camp. So he finds himself looking forward to the challenge of a new world, while Shardry vows to remember Ben Lant for ultimately his humanity. So as soon as the survivors have evacuated onto the mini ship, the Doctor and Susan operate the launch controls. And as the android version of Susan pilots the launcher safely away from the doomed planet, the Doctor and the rest of the crew retreat to the TARDIS and dematerialise just as the final destruction of Saraf begins. Yeah, that is the end of City at World's End.
So, they're able to save about 1% of the population.
Yes.
And the epilogue reveals that Susan, the android duplicate, ends up being a museum piece hundreds of years in the future. And it's revealed that the colonists make it safely to their new destination.
Yeah.
And Susan is, in the future, only known simply as the pilot.
Yeah.
I wonder if her AI eventually leaves the museum and makes its way to a puddle at St. Luke's University, where she meets Bill and Heather.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. But also, we're not told what the situation is on Miraf, are we? No. Like, whether there was a civilization or species on Miraf already that might not necessarily welcome a whole host of evacuees, but this problem might not be being solved, it might just be passed somewhere else.
Yeah. And in terms of the tie-ins to Planet of Giants, there's a couple, so the Doctor comments that he hopes that the removal of the life pod won't affect the TARDIS's dimensional stability, and does exactly that, and they shrink.
Yeah.
And then Barbara also asks that their next stop be a nice, quiet country garden somewhere.
Yeah.
And they sort of get that with the giant backyard in that story as well.
Yeah. So what do you make of all this?
It was, like you said, there's a lot going on.
Yes.
Tonally, apart from it being, so heavy, it did feel, in my mind, kind of like a 1960s style story, in that the opening, there was, a sense of foreboding with the counting clock in the background with the moon, and the mystery of the empty buildings and the deserted city covered in ash. That reminded me a little bit of like maybe the Space Museum and the desertedness there, and kind of felt like a sci-fi 1960s World's Fair version of the future.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that there were shorter chapters. It made it easier to read. The mannequins and the animatronics gave the story a bit of like a Twilight Zone or Outer Limits feel. I certainly was like, when I was imagining the story in my mind, it was weird because I was imagining it in black and white. There was a quiet, empty, like, dining scene where there's like a bunch of mannequins or androids like eating, like pretending to eat and drink, and that very much reminded me of the diner scene in Deep Breath. And I wondered if maybe Stephen Moffat was potentially subconsciously inspired by this for that particular scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of my initial thought. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, like you, I found this a lot. We're using it, there was a lot going on. It was all quite grim. I thought Christopher Bulis had a good grasp of the regulars. They all had stuff to do, I would say. I mean, okay, sure, it would have been useful to have found out a bit more about Susan's reactions to some of the events, but at least there was, they all had interesting storylines, and so I found it, I don't really want to use the word entertaining, but it was certainly, I kept on reading my way through it.
Yeah,
it's very readable. It's really well written. I think it was a bit of a shame that Gelvert, who is a character who I was enjoying, even if he was a bit of a reprehensible rogue, that Gelvert dies so soon, because he's possibly the only memorable character that's unique to the book, I would say.
I thought the bishop made for a good kind of antagonist, and like all of the religious implications there were interesting, and also
yes,
in the kind of the firefight in the pool at the health club.
Yes,
which was kind of a jarring, like more like, oh, it's all modern suddenly, but where I think the bishop ended up drowning in the pool, and then his followers take him out, and then they end up shooting him to make his death more violent than it actually was, as a way to kind of sway the populace.
Yeah. It was depressingly accurate, I think, in bits of kind of like human behavior. Yeah, it's these things that's why I'm a bit reluctant to use the word enjoyed. It was more of a book I experienced. I mean, we've read Grimmer, right? But certainly it was a bit like, yeah, people would do that. Yeah. And so like I was reading this book during a not great period of time personally, and a not great period of time in the world. And I was like, this is not a fluffy escape. So I kind of think that when it comes to marking, I think my marking might reflect that. But yeah, it's very well written, and I've enjoyed it a lot more than the other Bulis book we've read. There's Eye of the Giant.
Whereas I think I enjoyed that one more than this one, but yeah, I agree. It felt more like an experience than And to be fair, there are Hartnell stories like The Reign of Terror in particular, that are also very grim, or the Massacre at St. Bartholomew's Eve. So
it's almost like it's a historical in space.
Yeah, and especially if it turns out that both of the factions on the planet were both humans, then you could even be a pure historical in the future.
Yeah.
So for me, I guess I would score this one a 6 out of 10. I would say it's evocative of the era, but the mysteries raised weren't as engaging as I had hoped, and in my mind were pretty easily solved when the Doctor started asking questions about like the volume and capacity of the ship. I really appreciated the examination of the science versus the other aspects of society, but overall I just felt it lagged in parts. And despite there being the moon in the background the entire time, it just lacked urgency in parts and seemed to meander a little bit. It kind of felt like a Hartnell era 7-parter that maybe should have been like a 4-parter. But in its defense, it does have a really beautiful cover.
Yes. Which you cannot say of a lot of Doctor Who books.
Of that time,
Yes, Yeah, I think I'm also going for a 6. Because I could see a way in which I may have given it a 7, but it's just... so it's a high 6, but it was just quite grim. But it's well written. It's interesting when you say it's evocative of the period. I could not imagine this on TV. I certainly like the set pieces and everything. And also when you were saying that you almost pictured this in black and white when you were reading it, I was picturing it in some of like the original Dan Dare illustrations, if you're familiar with Dan Dare, the comic strip from the Eagle.
That kind of style,
Yeah, but also though with a depressing realism to an extent that you wouldn't have had on Dan Dare.
It's funny you should say that though, because like when I was reading it, it was very much I was thinking like, oh yep, they would have the collapsing tunnel set and Barbara would be stuck in there for a week, and I was just thinking about like how they would like what the miniature of the city might look like with the big rocket ship in the middle of it, and just the scenes of like the empty streets and the cars with the dummies inside them. It just, all of those pieces felt easy to visualize as part of 60s Who, but there are other parts that are kind of incongruous, like the gunfight at the swimming pool and that sort of thing, which they wouldn't be able to do on screen. So
No, it would have been, the gunfight would have been happening somewhere just off stage, wouldn't it? But yeah, I mean, like sometimes if we've read a book set in the 60s era of the show, that you are able to clearly see, that the author has deliberately written this as being like 6 sets, and that's not the case here. There's a saying about different types of Who fans that there are some that when the end credits are rolling are looking at the credits and who did what, and whereas there are others who are staring at the starfield beyond. And I think like you and I maybe have had slightly different experiences, and you were sort of like seeing this in black and white, whereas I was just seeing this as like this enormous experience, but also as well because like I mean, and I'm not going to go into much of this, but like I just felt that it kind of I could see parallels to what was happening in the news at the time we were reading this. That also as well, I think, kind of certainly impacted my reading of it, but also meant that for me it was a lot more visual, because I think maybe there were things that I was reading things into the narrative that might not have been, or I was thinking of other stuff, and yeah, it was just grim and depressing. But yeah, dear, 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 dear. What a great anniversary book, hey.
Well, it features the original TARDIS team.
It did. I mean, we don't know quite what RTD has in store. I mean, I know there are some references to Doctor saying, "Oh, I don't know if I can save you this time to Donna." So maybe RTD is going to be serving up a bleak anniversary for us.
Well, we still don't know anything about Wild Blue Yonder.
We don't.
Which is the second special, which part of me wonders, like, is that going to be a big surprise special where they get back, like, Eccleston and Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker, or is it going to be more like Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, where it's all on green, inside, or I have no idea how they're going to do that, or if,
I know that David Tennant has said that the script for that episode was like nothing else he'd ever read. We'll find out. But anyway, right. So we've moved off from talking about the book, haven't we? So,
let's talk about listener feedback.
Yeah, that might be more cheery. Yeah.
So no emails this month, but you can send us a quick email at andwbcpodcast@gmail.com with your thoughts about City at World's End or any of the other books we've read recently. We're happy to read your feedback. Added a social media platform, so we're now on Blue Sky. So thank you, Bill Evenson, for sending us an invite. So we're on that platform now as well.
Yeah, I hadn't earned an invite on the Blue Sky platform because I think I barely use it. But so otherwise I'd have sent ourselves an invite. But yes, thank you, Bill. So do come to Blue Sky. It appears to be less toxic.
That might be a good thing.
Yes.
How about on Facebook?
So Facebook, so Shag had said that he was very excited by our forthcoming coverage of like Iron Legion and Star Beast in anticipation of our episode, and he did remark upon the fact that you could experience Star Beast in particular in many, many different ways. And,
that's right.
Yes.
I think he tweeted us a picture of like that too, where he said he didn't have this particular Panini collection, but
yeah, here's all the various other ways that you could have this.
Much like you, Chris, with the original Doctor Who Weekly,
yes,
he was still able to follow along. I think he had the Marvel Comics color reprints, the Dave Gibbons graphic novel collection, as well as the Doctor Who Classics reprints from IDW. So a myriad of ways to to experience the story.
But only one of them had letter pages featuring letters by Matthew Waterhouse.
Yes. You probably experienced it the best way, I think.
I think so. In
the original context.
Yes.
So I think that brings us to what we're going to be reading for next month.
Yes, for December. For Christmas, no less.
So with the 14th Doctor and potentially 15th Doctor being on our screens over the course of the next month, and who knows what surprises might pop up for the 60th, I thought, gosh, that's a lot of Doctors to be potentially competing with.
Yeah.
And I feel like any Doctor I pick during this time could vie for our attentions. And I thought, as I'm known to do occasionally when we're in the middle of a Doctor cycle, why not try something off the beaten path?
Ooh.
So, Chris, for December, we're going to do something completely different.
Okay.
As a Christmas treat for both myself, because I've wanted us to review this book since the podcast started.
Ooh.
And as a hopefully holiday treat for you.
Yes.
Because it seems like this is one of your favorite authors.
Okay.
We are going to be reading The Diary of a Doctor Who Addict by Paul Mars.
Oh!
And originally published in 2010, this book is now out of print.
Okay.
It's not available digitally. But it can be found in used bookstores
Yes.
and online
Cool.
for about $3 in the States or a few pounds in the UK.
Cool.
It's also available as an unabridged audiobook read by the author
Yes.
on both CD and Audible.
Yeah.
So there's a few different ways to get it.
Fantastic. And he's got a brilliant voice as Paul Mars. Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Something a little bit different,
Yeah.
but to close out the anniversary year.
Yeah.
And I will say, without spoiling anything, it does, I hear, tie into Christmas as well. So
okay.
The holiday season. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a different sort of read than what we've experienced.
Yes.
And kind of perhaps a palate cleanser.
Yes. I think we're in need of that, aren't we? Okay. So is this non-fiction or is...
No, it is fiction.
Okay,
yeah.
fiction. Okay. Cool.
But it does not take place within the Doctor Who universe.
Right.
He says mysteriously.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. I wonder whether it starts in like the early days of the Blake 7 universe. Or maybe he set it in the Transformers universe. Okay.
Or perhaps our universe.
Or our universe, yes. Yes, that would make more sense, but I'm just trying to imagine.
There's a lot of other universes we've touched on
Yes.
over the years of doing this show.
Yes. Well, Thunderbirds. Yeah, okay. Cool. That is interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I am looking forward to going back into the works of Paul Mars.
Well, until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. Happy reading and have a fantastic 60th.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who Theme Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
I was thinking, yes, I have chosen an absolute downer for the anniversary. Well done. Cool. I did warn Kenny that, Kenny Smith, because he said, how's it going? And I said, yeah, we're reading City at World's End. And we're reading City at World's End in this month with everything that's going on. He went, oh, that'll be fun. Yeah, so Power Free has some very interesting treats lined up for November.
Nice.
Including some books that you may recognise. And that we have read.
Intriguing.
Yes. Johnny Morris, they've got an interview with regarding a Johnny Morris book that we particularly enjoyed.
I'm, I think, an episode behind on their podcast. I still have the October Doomsday wrap-up to hear. So,
yes.
Cool.
They might be releasing an episode a day leading up to the 60th.
Oh, well, I know what I'll be listening to on my drive down to Chicago TARDIS.
Yes. Or cool. at least an episode most days, I think. Oh, yeah, it's available for £2.99 on Amazon. Other online book services are available. Wow, I can get it for paperback for 20p.
There you go.
With £2.80 delivery.
Better put that order in now before one of our listeners...
Only one left in stock, so... Right. Yeah, I was wondering where you were going. Yeah, I was thinking, right, am I going to have the Doctor Who cookbook out?
I don't know that we'd ever do a non-fiction.
No.
But yeah, it's fiction and it's not a novelization. So those are our two...
Yes.
Our two qualifying criteria.
Yes, and Doctor Who related.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other book quite like it in terms of another that might meet that same sort of category.
Oh, there is the Paul Cornell comic that IDW had at the end of their run.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, potentially similar.
Yeah, I think that's a similar vein. Yeah. Which I remember enjoying. Yeah, and DWM has done comics vaguely along those lines. But, yeah, okay.